I start my new job tomorrow in a high school science classroom.
I work for Clark Construction and I will be a project engineer. I got promoted.
So I'm currently a follow-up analyst for Stellantis. We monitor parts from all over the world. We build vehicles as well.
I am going to be starting at Dynatrace right here in Ford Field.
After graduation, I've got a job working in the ICU at St. John Hospital.
I recently just got a job at Little Caesars Corporate right next door doing account management.
I was offered a full-time position at Magna Electronics where I was interning. I'm going to be a software engineer.
What's next for me? I am currently working at an advertising agency and I plan to continue working there and pursuing my PhD.
And now I have a job at GM where I'll be an engineer in their track program.
I'm graduating with a PhD in communication, and my next step is taking a research position at a nonprofit in DC.
I got an offer at GM in the rotational program.
My next stop is starting a new job, St. John. I just got offered a cardiac unit, and I'm excited.
I will be starting full-time in public accounting at Plant Moran and their international tax team.
And I plan on going to commercial banking, working for JP Morgan and Chase.
I'm graduating with a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, and I'm starting a position at Beaumont Royal Oak in the Neurotrauma Surgical ICU.
Honored guests, please welcome Wayne State's class of 2022. Honored guests, families, and friends, please join me in welcoming Wayne State University's Dean of Students, David Strauss.
Good afternoon. Please be seated. It is so wonderful to see all of you this afternoon. Thank you for being here for this joyous occasion. On behalf of the Dean of Students Office, the Student Senate, and all the student organizations, let me be the first to welcome you and congratulate all of you gathered here for this momentous occasion. The confirmation and celebration of Wayne State University's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences class of 2022. Now, to formally start the ceremony, I would like to ask that you please stand as we call the ceremony to order with the traditional opening march. It is my pleasure to present to you the members of the Wayne State University Board of Governors, the president, deans, honored guests, and members of the university administration. Thank you, and please remain standing for our national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. Many thanks to all of you for helping us start this special celebration in such a wonderful way. I'd like to draw your attention to the academic mace of Wayne State University. The mace is right here in the center of the stage. And the mace is very special because it is a ceremonial scepter that symbolizes the highest ideals of humankind: harmony, truth, justice, and learning. And that is really what we are celebrating today as you graduate. By tradition, the mace is presented at commencement in a position of prominence to all those gathered to represent and celebrate this auspicious occasion. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Mark Lawrence Kornblue. Provost Kornblue.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon and welcome to Wayne State University. Today's commencement ceremony is very special as it marks the return of WSU's graduation events to our own beautiful campus, and we're thrilled to be back in our new field house. It is my honor to start this ceremony by introducing you to the 2022 Winter, Spring, and Summer graduating class from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I'd also like to welcome the university's academic and administrative leadership gathered here to lend their congratulations to the class of 2022. I ask the deans and senior administrators seated on the stage to stand and be recognized. As one of the nation's largest public universities, Wayne State has anchored the city of Detroit as an engaged and motivated community of scholars since 1868. Wayne State is also home to Michigan's most diverse student body, with over 27,000 students from across the globe earning their undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. Wayne State continues to be a top-ranked research university, which is strengthened by the culture, industry, and diversity of our urban environment. Graduates, you have grown immensely during your time here at Wayne State. Your knowledge of your chosen field has increased, and you've carried you here to today. You've developed and honed your skills and are ready to go into the world. But let us remember that this moment is not yours alone. Without the help and sacrifice of your loved ones, your journey here would not have been possible. Graduates, please stand and give a big thanks to your family and friends gathered here today. Please be seated. It is now my great pleasure to introduce you to the Vice Chair of the university's Board of Governors, the Honorable Shirley Stancato, who will bring greetings on behalf of the board. Governor Stancato.
Thank you, Provost Kornblue. Thank you and good afternoon to each of you on this very exciting and special day. This weekend marks the return of the commencement ceremonies to the Wayne State campus and the first held in our own field house. On behalf of all of the members of the Board of Governors, let me say it is good to be home. And it's our distinct pleasure to welcome all of the graduates of the class of 2022 and to extend to you our deepest and most heartfelt congratulations. Today's celebration in our arena is a welcome tribute and acknowledgement of what commencement means to each of us. This is a place that instills hope for big dreams and wonder for the future. You've worked hard to achieve those dreams, and you should be proud, as we are, of your accomplishments. Wayne State University is an outstanding institution, and today you join more than 290,000, let me say it, more than 290,000 alumni who call our university their alma mater. Our vibrant campus is a tribute to our students and of the unwavering faith that we have in your ability to succeed. Your dedication and commitment have brought you to this moment and have set the path for your future success. Now, I'd like to take a moment to introduce the other members of the Board of Governors here with us for this afternoon's ceremony. Would the members please stand as I call your names? Please welcome Governor Brian Barnhill, Governor Michael Basuito, Governor Marilyn Kelly, Governor Dana Thompson, and Governor Emeritus Kim Trent. And on behalf of the Board of Governors and from our entire Wayne State community, congratulations to each of you and our best wishes to you for much success ahead.
Thank you very much, Governor Stancato. Graduates, your journey here today could not have been undertaken without the help, guidance, mentoring, and instruction from our esteemed faculty. I would like to introduce Linda Beal, President of the Academic Senate and Professor of Law in the Wayne State University Law School, who will bring greetings on behalf of the faculty. Professor Beal.
Thank you, Professor Kornbluh, and congratulations, Wayne students. As Senate President, I represent the faculty and academic staff who have inspired you during your time here. I'd like to ask the faculty and academic staff who are here with us on the platform or over here to stand so that you can applaud them. This semester, I watched an early 2000s sci-fi series called Farscape, a tale of an American astronaut cast by a wormhole into a distant part of the galaxy, living on a sentient spaceship with various alien species. That tale has a few lessons for us. I think of it as a testament to our ability to appreciate differences. First, the astronaut hero had to prove himself in this new world, including seizing chances thrown his way to make a difference in the lives of his shipmates. Life is filled with opportunities. We must consider our options, find a path, and persist. Life is too wonderful to fritter away the short time we have. Second, the astronaut hero learned that he could succeed, even in the harsh environment in which he found himself when he worked in a team with the others sharing the living spaceship. Working together with others is essential to our success as members of society. Noticing what others care about, sharing joys and sorrows, celebrating successes. These things make our lives better. Third, the astronaut traveled through space-time to experience unrealized realities that helped him see that his decisions about moral issues shaped who he could become and what he valued. Your university experience has served as your chance to live these unrealized realities as you have explored friendships and work, ideas, and potential futures. Hopefully, you too have learned the importance of building friendships with people from diverse perspectives, of seeing the humor even in difficult situations, and most importantly, of being open to changing your minds about ideas and the people around you. We hope that you work wonders with the insights you have gained as you move forward from your time at Wayne. Keep those who taught you in mind. Tweet us, link us in, email us, call us, stop by and visit us at our offices. Share your hopes, your concerns, and your moments big and small. We wish you great happiness. Congratulations on your commencement of this new phase of your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Beal. It is now with distinct pleasure that I introduce Wayne State's 12th president, Dr. M. Roy Wilson.
Thank you. Graduates, colleagues, special guests, family, and friends. After 2 years of being apart, we're at long last gathered again in person to celebrate the most special moment in a university student's career, commencement. It is a joyful day indeed. And we are especially proud, as others have said, to bring it home to our campus in our new Fieldhouse Arena. It really does feel like the best kind of homecoming. And I'm so grateful to see all of you here. I'm so proud of you, of all that you've overcome in pursuit of your academic goals, in pursuit of excellence. But I'm not the only one proud here today. This arena is brimming with parents, siblings, grandparents, faculty, and mentors who cheered you on and supported you in your journey to arrive at this point. Today is their celebration also. This year is different because you are different. Our graduates, our warriors, in spite of all the world threw at you, including a global pandemic that shut down much of the world, you kept fighting and earned your degrees. Some people call that grit. On this campus, we call it warrior strong. And that grit, that spirit of determination to persevere at all costs has prepared you for life in a way you will someday appreciate, if not today. When I began to think about my words for you today, the first thing that came to my mind was a quote I've long admired from the 26th President of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt. 112 years ago, in the spring of 1910, he said these words to an audience gathered at the Sorbonne in Paris, France. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls, neither know victory nor defeat. I probably would have said he and she, but other than that, I think it's a very nice quote. Because Teddy Roosevelt knew the arena. He dared greatly. He fought literally and figuratively. And throughout his life, and won far more than he lost. He would never be counted among the cold and timid souls. His words made me think of all of you, of the class of 2022. You are the warriors in the arena who accepted the high standards that Wayne State demanded of you as students and surpassed them, who not only weathered the pandemic, but conquered in spite of it, who cared for those in your communities and lent a helping hand, who reckoned with the injustices still suffered by too many in our country and fought for better. You practiced patience, sacrifice, resolve, hard work, compassion for others, action in the face of injustice. The credit belongs to you, the warriors in the arena. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. A distinguished citizen of Detroit, of Michigan, of the U.S., and of the world, has been recommended by the faculties of the university for an honorary degree.
Thank you, Provost Kornblue. I would like to ask Vice Chair of the Board of Governors, the Honorable Shirley Stancato, to please join me at the lectern for the conferral of the honorary degree. Will the remaining members of the Board of Governors please escort Reverend Dr. Anthony to the lectern. Wayne State University awards the Doctor of Laws honoris causa to you, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony, for your distinguished career as a spiritual leader and community activist. A native of St. Louis, you were educated in the Detroit public school system. You earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Wayne State and a Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry from Marygrove College. Marygrove later awarded you an honorary Doctor of Arts. You also attended the University of Detroit Mercy, where you pursued advanced study in Black theology. You became the pastor of Fellowship Chapel in December 1986. Under your leadership, the church has experienced the greatest growth in its 56-year history. Fellowship Chapel has a full-time outreach ministry where you pioneered the Isusu Institute, a mentoring program for boys between the ages of 6 and 18. You also developed this female counterpart, the Interjani Institute for girls between the ages of 6 and 18. You are a proud member of the NAACP National Board of Directors. You have spent nearly 3 decades as the president of the Detroit branch of the NAACP, the organization's largest branch. A certified social worker in the state of Michigan, you are the founder of the Freedom Institute for Economic, Social Justice, and People Empowerment, a nonprofit think tank. In tribute to your career as a community activist, Wayne State University proudly bestows on you, Reverend Dr. Anthony, the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Governor Stancato, as president of Wayne State University, and on behalf of the faculty, I am pleased to present Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony for the conferral of the degree.
Thank you, President Wilson. By the authority of the people of the state of Michigan, as vested in the Wayne State University Board of Governors, we are proud to confer upon you, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony, the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, and with this hood and diploma, admit you to all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of that degree. Congratulations.
Thank you, Don. The world is calling you. The world is calling you from education to direct intervention, calling you from apathy to advocacy, calling you from Wayne State to help save the state. The world is calling you from the sidelines to the front lines. Don't you hear it? Don't you see it? Don't you feel it? The world is calling you not to watch what happens, but to make something happen, not just to think about it, but to be about it. The world is calling you, not for quiet acceptance, but for constructive resistance, not calling you by cell phone, iPad, or laptop. The world is calling you to get on top of all the madness so our progress will not stop. The world is calling you from the Midwest to determine to invest in everyone doing their best so you cannot rest. We don't need you to act supreme. We need you to be supreme in all that you do. The world is calling you. Yes, you and you and you and you and me too. The world is calling you, calling you. Will anybody out there answer? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson, Board of Governors, faculty, and students. This is your time. Congratulations. I'm just very pleased to be here from a brother from St. Louis, from Kinloch, and to have my 91-year-old mama over here to my right witnessing this day. Stand up. Over there. My daughters, some of them, my wife. I want to thank you for just giving me this moment. I'm standing here on the back of so many people. My counselor told me not to apply for college, not to even go to college. But the first Black president of Wayne State University, Dr. Noah Brown Jr., and I got to call his name. He came to Central High School and said, "You're going to college, and you're going to college, and you're going to college." And we went to college. My only regret is that the counselor that told me that I shouldn't apply is not here as I stand receiving a doctorate from Wayne State University on this day. So, all I want to say to y'all, all I want to say to you, parents, loved ones, faculty, all I want to say to you is that the world is calling you. We need you. These are very critical times. What will you do with these times? The only one that can answer that question is you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Anthony. Over 3,800 students from 13 schools and colleges are eligible to graduate during this term. Many of those students attained a level of academic achievement that we want to celebrate with you. Students from the Irvin D. Reed Honors College celebrate a wonderful tradition of academic achievement and have earned university and departmental honor designations. Please turn your attention to the video board for a message from the Dean of Honors College, John Corvino.
Mr. President, upon the recommendation of the faculty of the schools and colleges at Wayne State University, I have the honor to present these outstanding students who have completed the honors curriculum in their respective departments or the general university honors curriculum as listed in the commencement program. They are wearing a gold collar in recognition of this accomplishment.
Thank you, Dean Corvino. Mr. President, from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the master and bachelor's degree candidates will be presented by Dean Steffi Hartwell. Will the candidates please rise? Please stand. All the degree candidates, please stand.
Everybody up.
Everybody up.
Everybody up.
This is the moment I waited for.
Woo, woo. Mr. President, upon the recommendation of the faculty of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, I have the honor to present these candidates for degrees as listed in the commencement program.
Thank you, Dean Hartwell. Would the candidates please remain standing? Mr. President.
You know, it's very important to learn how to improvise when things don't go exactly as you think they should. We did have another degree, honorary degree person. Unfortunately, his driver got lost, but he may still be here. So please excuse us if we interrupt what we do. Oh, we understand he's here. In that case, So we'll do the next part, which is the most important part of the ceremony. And as soon as he comes, we'll interrupt and give him his honorary degree. So please, I appreciate your flexibility. The authority to confer each of these degrees is vested in the Board of Governors of Wayne State University by the people of the state of Michigan under the Constitution of the state. This authority is delegated to the president by the board. Each of these degrees is granted on the recommendation of the faculty of the university. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon the recommendation of the respective faculties, I do hereby confer upon you the degree for which the faculties have recommended you, and I admit you to all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of that degree. Congratulations.
The degree recipients will please be seated. Family, friends, honored guests, it is now time for the moment our graduates have worked so hard to achieve, the receiving of their diplomas. We ask that all guests remain in their seats during the diploma march. All candidates please process by rows, beginning with the first row, following the direction of the staff at the head of the row. I now call all the degree candidates to the stage to participate in the diploma march. Please follow the directions of the staff in your row.
I think that maybe the best thing to do, since our second honorary degree is actually coming out right now, to wait just a second and give the honorary degree out so that we don't have to interrupt the conferral of the degree. So let's just hold 1 second here.
Step back. Well, if we're improvising, parents, family, and friends, why don't you join me in congratulating our students graduating here one more time while we're waiting.
Okay, our second honorary degree recipient is walking out right now. So I'm still gonna go ahead and call for this.
Mr. President, the faculty of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences have recommended that a distinguished citizen for the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters.
Thank you, Provost Kornblum. Would the remaining members of the Board of Governors please come up on stage also to the lectern. Wayne State University awards the Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, to you, Stephen Hardaway Morris, in recognition of your contributions to the field of music as an iconic singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and record producer, and to honor your ardent advocacy for civil rights, social justice, and the disabled community. A native of Saginaw, Michigan, you have struggled with visual impairment for your entire life. You worked hard to overcome this disability and started your musical career as an 11-year-old child prodigy, Little Stevie Wonder. Today, you have more than 50 years of soulful art and artistry to your credit. Listed among the top 10 on Rolling Stone magazine's 100 greatest songwriters of all time, you will forever be famous in the annals of music as one of the world's best-selling musicians with more than 100 million records sold worldwide. Your diverse musical style includes songs from Motown, jazz, funk, rhythm and blues, soul, pop, and gospel traditions. You have been honored for your achievements with the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Civil Rights Museum, the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom, and as a United Nations Messenger of Peace. You led the 18-year effort to make Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a national holiday in your fight against racial injustice continues today with your support for the Black Lives Matter movement. In grateful tribute to your extraordinary achievements in music, your commitment to freedom and justice for all, and for your contributions to the disabled community around the world, Wayne State University proudly bestows on you, Stephen Hardaway Morris, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Governor Stancato, as president of Wayne State University and on behalf of the faculty, I am pleased to present Stephen Hardaway Morris for the conferral of the degree.
Thank you, President Wilson. By the authority of the people of the state of Michigan, as vested in the Wayne State University Board of Governors, we are proud to confer upon you, Stephen Hardaway Morris, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and with this hood and diploma, admit you to all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of that degree. Congratulations. There is a, yes.
So, I first of all want to say thank you to this wonderful university. While coming here, I had some thoughts and I wrote some things down that I wanted to say. And even though I've been in this profession for a few minutes, it is not impossible for me to feel a little shy about now. I'm trying to find my notes that I wrote. You know how things happen when you're in the most crucial time, things just start jumping off. But I'm patient. Not just that, because I have a birthday coming up, I have the right to ask you all to be a little patient. I could sing a song, but I don't really want to do that yet. You know what? I can't find it, but I'm just going to go with just saying what I feel from my heart right now. As I said before, it's truly an honor to receive this honor, but this really doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to the Franklin School, the Roosevelt School, the Fitzgerald Elementary School, the Michigan School for the Blind in Lansing, Michigan. Belongs to Motown, of whom so many people allowed me to discover and learn music and to express my feelings. But most of all, it belongs to you, Detroit. It belongs to you because you allowed me, from you embracing me, to really have the opportunity of discovery, to be able to have the freedom of curiosity, to hear different music from different radio stations, to have in a time and place where there were people from all parts of the world that spoke various languages and played different kinds of music. I was able to hear that music. And for me then, the radio was like my eyes to the world. I was able to hear and imagine and know that it is so possible through music for people to come together for the good of all. But it does mean that we have to be committed. Committed because we're still in a place where we are fighting for rights. Would you believe we're still fighting for civil rights? We're still fighting for social justice. We're still fighting for voting rights. We're still fighting for women to have the right to choose what they want to do with their lives and their bodies. We're still fighting for people to have their identity rights. And so here we go in a time in this nation where we need you. The state needs you. This country needs you. The world needs you to really represent how freedom and love can really work. So many times we talk about how we have been blessed and how, as much as we talk about the things that have happened, if we can come together and talk about those things, not act like they don't exist or try to erase them out of history, that's impossible. Because in one breath, you can't say that you cannot know your future if you don't know your history in the past. And how can you not grow? How can you grow if you want to act as if things that have happened didn't? I said that to the governor of Florida and the governor of Texas. How can you say How can you say that I have to cut off my braids and my locks when I go to school when that is part of my culture? How can those who say they love God so much hate anyone? And that goes for any of you of whatever culture you are from. You see, the blessing really is in using the gift of love, using the gift of fairness, using the opportunity to move as we need to move as a united people of these United States to make the world better. I challenge all of you to that. I've written most of my life songs about that to encourage people to do that. I challenge you not to just talk about it, be about it. And then you will truly be the sunshine of my life. Thank you so much. And thank you, Wayne State University. God bless you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for their flexibility. Oh, one more thing.
Stay with me, stay with me. I said I would do this, so let's go. You're going to sing with me. Dun, dun, dun. Is that a C? Dun, dun.
There you go. We got it.
Is that a C? Dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. You are the sunshine of my life. Oh, that's why I'll always be around. You are the apple of my eye, Wayne State. Forever you stay in my heart. And I am here to say I love you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you all for your flexibility again. I think that was a real treat. And he did all that without notes, by the way. So this was great. So if we can go back to where we were at and line up in the Dean Hartwell, you.
Okay, so we will begin the processional to recognize all the degree candidates. So we have followed the marshals. The first row stand and move to that side. Carrie Beejan Lewis. Sharon C. Diane Smith. Alec Maluchnik. Imani Small. Paige Wilson. Marty Silver. Kelly Bailiff. Danielle Strauss Mushahadat.
Alexandra Smeranuk, Abigail Myers, Mary Khalil Yusuf, Rachel Grimm Aldo, Brianna Terry, Zachary Stanzik, Kirsten Smith, Jade Cox, Emily Burl, Rajia Sultana, Larissa Tastich, Rel Evans, Jessica Hinton, Tim Thomas, Megan Alexandra Jones, Keely Cady, Jenna Huntley, Leon Lynch, Madison Stocks, Marisa Dotson, Brandon Buran, Terry Thomas, Sky Taylor, Alexis Taylor, David Karst, Donna Jackson, Michelle Fuani, Latoya Burns, Sierra Strong Ballard, Justin Mazzola, Lindsay Sharp, Brittany O'Neill, Harry Smith, Laura Herberg, Gazala Akbarian, Arij Obahi, Catherine Kopp, Megan Frazo, Haley Boyer, Alexis Horn, Zainab Al-Jambouri, Raven Denson,
Ahmad Slaughter, Jelena Satowers, Angela Orzek, I'm sorry, Abigail Orzek, I apologize. Marissa Scott, Casey Fish, Nicole Burson, Kylie Huang, Joseph Blake Cahoon, Lauren McKenzie, Chanel Burns, Alexis Simpson, Pierce Krolowski, Sydney Mason, Antonelli Bahu, Mohammed Harb, Khalija Kulan, Fran Elsong, Wehud Kuhuma, Wendell Smith, Layla Sue Eli, Alicia Sloan, Nadav Pace Green Apple, Zachary Barbiris, Clarissa Bahrain Graza, Dan Williams IV, Alexander Hill, Jerry Frazier, Randall Mills, Abigail Kropa, Saria Johnson, Raquel Keystone, Angela Kerma, Abigail Johnson, Amanda Amaziri, Amy Nubahajiri, Yasmin Hassan, Rania Matuk, Ashley Lopez Camargo, Jenna Alawini, Hope Kojo, Madison Justice, Jessica Dubronka, Julius Wilkerson, Jessica Clark. Yep. Nicholas Smitty. Olivia Gagnon. Sarah Bishop. Sydney Hope Boyce. Mackenzie Lynn Wallach. Caitlin Hunt.
Emma Stepanovich. Hannah Graf. Emily Hooper. Noor Bazi. Lauren Williamson. Mukti Barua. Arik Fritz. Rob McCauley. Luke Hyde. Jesse Hyde. Erica Bernard. Erin Kenokan. Rachel Resakova. Besam Adele. Pratuna Loka. Amber Epperson. Akita Sarah. Grace Cubits. Gabriela Mazuka. Ugata Sharma Horn. Samantha Misowska. Allison Dubrowoski. Alexandra Hunger. Miranda Spear. Lama Ahmad. Selva Yisu. Sukena Devenzo. Noor Hashem. Emily Smith. Aubrey Carr. Nikki Hart. And Ebony Eason. Jamie Stanfield. De La Cruz Martin. Julian Goldman. Julianne Palmer. Grace Vestrick. Mahayava Lukala. Jordan Banks. Darius Van. Devin Chapin. Natalie Harrisman. Christopher Cooling. Nicole LeBlanc. Adria Hop. Anthony Bali. Aaron Essex. Maddox Arnold. Elizabeth Stein. Samuel Tabor. Brianna Garben. Savannah Van. Victoria Skolny.
Barbara Woodham. Michael Dixon. Jethro Mankey. Brianna Foster. Emily Roth. Amelia Tennant. Zaina Berry. Hajar Mosip. Nakia Edwards. Sabria Anderson. Victoria Akavong. Jessica Lambert. Brooke Galliard. Andrea Trevino. Tamaya Davis. Nadia Khan. Suraya Ahmed. Fablia Chowdhury. Haley Dumankas. Tiffany Ellison. Simiolua Oyinkolade. Justin Sherman. Adi Siegman. Herbert A. Tisdale Jr. Matthew Robinson. Joelle Joyner. Augusta Kovac. Yolanda Myrie. Martina Jabaru. Ayana Coleman. Asha Perry. Giovanni Shukri. Kareem Wells. Imran Bitar. Mustafa Shukr. Stephen Stoddard. Khalud Altahish. Natalie Tai. Gabrielle Walsh. Jose Arizmendi Gomez. Vanessa Armenta. Molly Curry. Malika Khalid. Patrick Deere. Evan Smiley. Dominic Mastrangelo. Jacob Kaywood. Rhonda Weston. Salah Saida. Zahra Al-Khayat. Sarah Faraj. Haneen El Sabah. Kelly Seals. Sarah Masad. Albert Guzik II. Christopher Williams. Hassan Qureshi. Brandon Reynolds. Nicole Kahan. Vamira Choice. Jahan Syed. Batul Darwish. Shaniqua Lipson. Diana Fayad. Victoria Phillips. Cassandra Turpany. Jacqueline Webb. Amina Tabassum. Mohammed Qasim. Rania Kryam. Tynesha Jones. Sasha King. Nadine Kalasho. Kyle Salmons. Yasmin Suleiman. Hiwat Lasenwork. Farheen Sultana. Anna Wysocki. Sherry Walton. Lionel Yabin. Nitya Madan. Stephanie Brizendine. Elizabeth Valancourt. Jack Kirsten. Amy Benson. Joshua Whitehorn. Dale Robb. Mohammed Alamara. Aya Hamawi. Nagat Harhara. Tahrim Khanzada. Naila Bowman. Kiara Davis. Alberto Herrera. Dina Abbas. Umber Kazmi. Erica Kane Lockhart. Morgan Marshido. Zaire Iram. Kauthar Al-Timi. Haneen Sob. Layan Nadi. Samantha Ross. Jacqueline Pearl Swan. Alan Kushelman. Isis Gillespie. Jalen McGee. Jasmine Minhas. Yamisha Taylor. Mel Sharavino. Kimberly Glazier. Divine Reed. John Radke. Micah Johnson. Sausen Giso. Abraham Farouk. Dawood Ali Al-Saidi.
Family, friends, honored guests, may I present you with the Wayne State University graduating class of 2022. It is now my pleasure to present this afternoon's student speaker, Sky Taylor. Sky is graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Please turn your attention to the video screen.
I chose to come to Wayne State because I wanted to be in the heart of Detroit. I'm originally from the city, but I always wanted to come back to the place that raised me. I'm a psychology major and I do my research on the African American community, and I wanted to be in an urban area where I'm able to implement my research, studies, and results in the place that I am from. Detroit is so small, but it's also really big. There's so many people that you can meet. There's so many places that you can go just by attending Wayne State. Wayne State has helped me pursue these passions that I have because they have offered me so many different opportunities, from the Rebuild Detroit Scholars Program, the McNair Scholars Program, the Mark Scholars Program. They've always offered me these different opportunities, whether that's studying abroad through Warrior VIP, where they took us to Canada, whether that's offering opportunities to present at research conferences. Wayne State has always provided me the resources to be the best me that I can be. My name is Sky Taylor, and I am Warrior Strong. Hi, my name is Sky Taylor, and I'm the commencement speaker for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences 2022 graduation. This has been a journey of a lifetime. I remember graduating high school 4 years ago, barely ready to be an adult and barely knowing what I was going to do with my life. All I knew was I was going to Wayne State University. 4 years is a long time, but it seems like it happened yesterday. This time at Wayne State has flown by with the blink of an eye. I remember only 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I began my journey here at Wayne State at the young age of 17. I packed my bags to move to DeRoy, a place we will never forget. I was filled with joy, looking forward to what the college experience held for me. This feeling of joy is one that we have all experienced once in our lives. We all started our story at Wayne State in different manners. Some started like me, straight out of high school. Some transferred, and some started later in life. But at the end of the day, we all ended up here in the heart of Detroit at Wayne State together. The way you got here doesn't matter. We're just proud that you finished. Wayne State has become my home. This has been a place where I have found family, community, love, peace, and the never-ending sense of growth. I hope that each and every one of you have been able to experience the same. In all of our trials and tribulations that we have faced throughout our college experience, we deserve congratulations just for making it through. Although our name is on the degree, we did not do it alone. I thank God, my parents, family, friends, mentors, and many more for my success. We all have those in our lives who pushed us to do more than we could ever imagine, so make sure to thank them. One thing that I have learned is to give grace, not only to others, but to myself as well. Class of 2022, give yourself some grace. Plans may not always go the way that you thought they would, but you did it. It may have taken more time, a couple major changes, but you did it. We've all experienced this journey together, and now we've reached the end. But the end does not always mean that the story is over. Wayne State will always be a home for you, no matter where life may take you. Today commemorates all of the wins, losses, and even small attempts that we have made throughout our college experience. I definitely want to take the time to say thank you to everyone who has guided us through our journey, and congratulations again to the class of 2022.
Congratulations, graduates. You arrived at Wayne State as students, but you leave as powerful examples of success. You have demonstrated that with grit, opportunity, and ambition, anything is possible. As you move your tassel from student to a graduate, you also move into the Wayne State alumni community of more than 290,000 warriors. There are Wayne State alumni in every corner of Detroit, in every part of Michigan, across the country, and around the world. No matter where your journey takes you, you will find a Wayne State connection. We hope you keep the connections that you have made during your time at Wayne State and continue to make new connections with fellow alumni. We also hope you will stay connected with your alumni association. We offer many programs and opportunities, from mentoring to lifelong learning and ways to give back. And we want to hear where life takes you. Please share your accomplishments and your updates with us as you achieve milestones throughout your journey. Keep in touch with us via our website at alumni.wayne.edu. On behalf of the Alumni Association, congratulations again on your accomplishments. We can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you, Ms. Morley. And now the last ceremonial part of the ceremony. Will all the master's degree recipients please stand? Will everyone join me in once more congratulating these students for their efforts and accomplishments in successfully completing their postgraduate degrees? Please sit down. Will all the bachelor degree graduates please stand? In a grand tradition that has continued at many great universities across the world, the turning of the tassel signifies the completion of your undergraduate degree. As I count to three, will all the graduates of bachelor degrees please turn your tassels from right to left? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, graduates. One more time, congratulations, graduates 2022.
Please be seated. As we prepare to conclude this afternoon's ceremony, and before we ask the marshals to escort the platform party and faculty, I want to provide you with some closing reminders. First, graduates, after I ask the platform party to depart, I'll then ask you to depart, and you can leave right behind you in any of the 3 aisles, right up the steps out to M. Roy Wilson Plaza. And for our guests, those of you that are to my left, so the right of the stage, you can actually exit in the front or exit outside to the doors, which will take you to a sidewalk and bring you around to the front to M. Roy Wilson Plaza. But those of you to my right, don't exit those doors. That will put you on Warren Avenue. You will go around to the front to M. Roy Wilson Plaza. That way, if you all depart in that order, we won't have the bottleneck at the front, and you'll get out there and see your graduates right away. I also want to note to you, of course, it's a beautiful day, and there's so many wonderful photo op opportunities. So be sure to check out the W statue that's in front of Mathi, or go behind Mathi to the Duchesne training facility that has the giant English D statue and the giant Motown record statue. So take advantage of the beautiful landmarks we have to get your photos for this joyous day. Lastly, I want to thank all of you for being here today. We want to congratulate all of you today. Certainly was a very special afternoon. With that, I would like to ask the marshals to escort the platform party and guests of the platform party from the stage. Hey, graduates, hold on just a second. Let's let the platform party head out. Okay, graduates, congratulations, and congratulations, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.